you'd probably take a good hit on both of them as my, just understanding how it's working for the past 2 months. So like I said, Tim has been helping Justin out. Justin's the building inspector, if we don't know the position's names. He needs to go on inspections when he comes back. There's, 10 voicemails and 3 people that missed him, and there's a lot of upset people saying that someone's supposed to be here, right? Because in the past we had, one person stay in, one person go out, and vice versa, and they would catch up on paperwork and they're back and forth. So in either of the 2 reduced staff scenarios, we will take a hit on that level of availability for people to come in, whether it's a contractor or a homeowner or a business, asking a question on code compliance. Definitely for enforcement, you take a hit, but it would be a hit that you're, comfortable taking in terms of what programs you would look to reduce, whether it's duplex inspections or alley inspections, things like that. So if we would go to a complaint-based system, it would need a lot of education in terms of, staff, the board, the community, because there's a level of expectation now. We get a lot of calls that don't want to give names, that said, they want to be anonymous, but we don't have the time to follow up on that stuff. So I would say both of them with a reduced staff obviously takes a hit because we have one less person to do it. I would think customer service, quite honestly, is probably the bigger of the 2 hits, because that one we can't predict. When people come in, they get upset when someone's not there. And I'm not a building inspector, so I can't qualify and answer questions to them. So inspection, we can work around and get to. I would say customer service, in my mind, takes a big hit, but they both equally do. It's just a matter of what you're choosing to move forward with. Thank you.
And can I just ask, are we going to be asked to vote on this before budget? Because as I spoke with Rebecca before, in budget, we see like what we need to fill a gap. We have $700,000 gap. So if it's not going to be this position, we might be able to pick a different position or whatever staff to give us a comprehensive understanding of that. And so I'm just asking, I like the fact that we're talking about it at committee of the whole, because we need to have this discussion and talk about level service, but it would make a difference. Is this a choice that we're going to need to make from one staff member or a different, you know what I'm saying, like a position or another position? And then what are we comfortable with reducing in terms of level of service or customer service for that function? If we're taking it in isolation, which is I'm okay with, but I hear that if you don't, and so if someone wants to keep it level of service that we have, and we get to the point in budget where we need alternative expenditure reductions, are we going to be asked to vote on that before we can see the whole picture?
It was my hope to get a decision within the month so that I could prepare either way within my department budget and within, modifying things and posting a job position if necessary. So it was my hope that Rebecca can weigh in if there's a different opportunity. But we've been going about it for 2 months with the expectation that in September we would have the conversation. So that's what we're here for. If it needs to be delayed, I guess I would just.
Well, it's just next month, right? But I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, to exactly how Bart explained, we've been down the position for 2 months. We took a little break in meeting. We've been trying to be cognizant of the schedule and what's on agendas in order to wait to have this discussion with you. Ideally, we were hoping to get some level of barometer from the board because we know it's been a topic discussed in the past, so that as he was preparing his budget to be submitted, we'd have that information included. It doesn't hold you to that because, as we all know, we can change things, or you can change things. We'll be not us, but you moving forward. So I guess we're flexible.
So based on this conversation, I'm fine with this too, whatever is
Yeah.
recommended, but based on the conversation tonight, you would put what you feel was the direction, so I think everybody needs to speak at least once, their preference, and then any one of the board members could change that by introducing an amendment to the budget, or, right, through the amendment process.
As we work through the budget. And when we come to you on the 17th, we'll also be going through the first draft of the budget. And with that, as we've discussed, we're going to be providing a list of different options because we have a number of things that need to be reduced to meet different goals based upon how the board desires to proceed. So we could present it as is, or we could do it based upon
It's just this meeting you're getting direction from.
Correct.
Okay. Did you want to finish up, Trustee Warren? Yes. Did you have a preference for tonight to give any direction? Are you neutral? Or?
I'm still, in terms of how we're gonna, in terms of what we're gonna ask them to follow up on, you know, I guess option number one seems pretty straightforward to me. And I'm not saying that we should take that off the table, but I'm saying if we need more information, it probably comes from options 2 and 3. So I think the direction is probably follow those 2, because option number 1 is just maintaining what we've currently been doing. And certainly then the next meeting is when we begin to discuss, and that would be my thought.
You have ruled out any of the 3, that's all we need to know.
I have not ruled out any of the 3 now.
Okay. Trustee McKay.
I would support maintaining levels, service levels, for a couple of reasons. The customer service, I think, is very important. People's homes and their property there's a lot of anxiety around when you need to make a change or when you need to repair something, or if you're investing in an improvement. And I think being responsive to them is a way that we can make that a smoother process. I think that proactive enforcement is a lot cheaper to the property owner than deferred maintenance. And so I don't believe in reducing that. And I've also heard a lot of this board is very ambitious in what we want to accomplish from a planning and conceptualizing viewpoint over the next couple of years. And so that's going to be a real demand on the director's time. And so I think a fully staffed department is going to allow us to reach, not only respond to our residents, protect our properties, respond to commercial improvements, improvements in the commercial district, but also reach our goals as a board to move the village forward.
Trustee Martin.
Yeah, I would support maintaining our level of service and also enforcement. I think it goes to protect the values of our homes, and we've seen our values, equalized values of our neighborhoods going up. And you just need to look to the south, to Milwaukee around the university, and you can just see the neighborhoods on Downer that were owner occupied just a couple of years ago going downhill. I think our efforts here have really protected our village, and I'd be very concerned about backing off. I mean, sometimes we forget we're neighbors to the university that has 27,000 students. They're spread out around the community, but it's still a very large university, and a lot of students, a lot of non-owner occupied rental buildings. Just on our block, there's 20 structures, and since we've been in the house, in the block, 5 of the rental properties have shifted from duplexes with owners in them to being not owner occupied at all. You can see a rapid decline in the maintenance. They're less than, so I think our program has protected our values, and I think I hate to back off. We could quickly slide into what you're seeing in South Maryland and all the neighborhoods south of the university. So I think it's a penny saved, but in the long haul, you really see some hits to our property values, particularly in the south end of the village.
Could we get when you come back at the 17th, but Trustee Maher made a great point, can we get the assessed values over the last few years of that quadrant of the village, meaning for duplexes? Because I know duplex value's gone down every year for the last few years, maybe 2 years. I just want to see if, what effect we're having. Thank you. I don't know, Trustee Menta, have you said anything?
No, I haven't. I did remodel my powder room in the past year, and when the plumber was there, I think I called that day and said, could the inspector, and the inspector was like, oh yeah, I'll be right. 10 minutes later, the Justin was there, which was great. But I mean, there's level of service and there's level of service. I mean, I think it's entirely appropriate to call the day before and make an appointment for the next day or 2 days later. I mean, I don't think we need to have, someone at the ready to run to someone's house, the minute they call. I mean, that's great, but is that really, I don't think that's how other communities are. I think that's a much higher level of service in terms of the quickness that other communities are offering. Other communities, you call, you make an appointment, and the inspector shows up when you have the appointment. So I'm not sure what alley inspections, is that like inspecting the road? I mean, what is the alley inspection about?
It helps DPW with general debris and refuse left in the alley. And Tim is here if you have any specific questions, but, so correct my question.
No, alley, when you're doing an alley, going through the alleys, we do that once a month, after garbage has been picked up, so we go out there like the next day in that quadrant. Gives us a chance to see the rear of the homes that we don't typically see just driving down the streets. So we pick up things that work without permits, we pick up garbage that's left in the alleys. That's kind of what we're looking at. A lot of times you don't see the backyard, so the front might be maintained, but the rear hasn't been cut out somewhere.
So someone who lives on an alley has the benefit not only of the inspector examining the front of their house, but we also get them to see what, I mean, the alley inspections is one, if someone who's lived on an alley for a long time, I think we could easily cut. I think it's a real mistake to compare Shorewood to Milwaukee in any sense, in terms of neighborhood. There's just vast differences between people who can afford to live in Shorewood and who make the move to Shorewood. And, it's just a wrong comparison in my mind entirely. And we've had, if you look at equalized value of residential only, we have not seen large increases in equalized value. We have in some parts of town, but not others. And I don't think there's any connection, and I don't think anyone can show a causal connection between inspection activities and equalized values in the village. It's anecdotal, you may believe it, that's fine, but I don't think there's any data to support that. So I'm entirely in favor of reduced enforcement and 4 FTE, the third alternative.
Thank you. And Trustee Wesley would like to have one more statement, if that's okay with the board.
I apologize.
I want to be fair.
I'm reading through option number 2, and I'm intrigued by that. It seems like option number 2, we would be able to keep what we do in terms of inspections, but we lose some control in terms of contracting out. So when we look through this and when we kind of come back, I'd be curious as to, we keep kind of our inspection, but I'd be interested to hear some of the cons a little bit more further detailed as to, why you think that we wouldn't be able to, I understand they wouldn't be at our beck and call necessarily, but you can build things into contracts, service levels, things like that. And it's not going to be perfect, obviously, but I'd be interested to have that fleshed out a little bit more.
Okay, Trustee McKay.
How does the role of the clerk serve the department? In terms of, is there capacity for additional scheduling that might be able to be shared there?
I will admit she primarily does the scheduling as people call, and she maintains the database, she enters all the permits, so she's the one actually who knows, everyone's scheduling where everything's going on. In this interim period, we have shifted some additional print queue and things have gone to her, so she's also taken on some of the, burden as we've been understaffed, so I want to take her credit for that as well. But yeah, she does do the scheduling, even with the conflict of services with KWK, she's been the main liaison back and forth to make sure that they're, in place and everything, so. She does do that. Under the previous job description, the lead building inspector did that, but it's just she's kind of morphed into that role because she knows what everyone's doing in a very good way.
Okay, so is there any additional capacity in that position if you're looking at reducing an FTE in the department, could the clerk's position be looked at as absorbing some additional responsibility?
She could absorb, additional things. I just
Phone calls.
Right, yeah, and she does take, but she can't answer questions. So what I hesitate on that is she can't give a qualified answer to the person who's asking it, nor can I. So when the inspector's gone, someone asks a question, we're both kind of sitting there saying, we love to answer that question for you. We think we know what we say, but we're not certified building inspectors, and that's a very legitimate certification.
Is that what you were talking about at the beginning? We just need to re-educate the community. If our level of service goes down by a few days,
Correct.
that we would do an educational campaign.
So the trustee at this point, yes. So typically we had one inspector out and one inspector in, so when they called, needed, an inspection quickly, that inspector could say, okay, I'll put my paperwork off for an hour and I'll meet you there right now, and it's a very high level of, service. If that's the case in the future, when we tell people that that's not an option, we would just need, time and support to get that message out there, because it's not easy for us to, hear that from everyone, that we're not pleasing them as well as we can have that. So That's the education code I talked about. So if there's any level of reduction, it's gonna take a full effort from everyone to make that clear.
And my last request for trustee Warren, building on his request for data, could you just give us a ballpark today or maybe on the 17th of what would that level of service drop be? So you're mainly for customer service, is it a 2-day, like you might not be able to return a call or show up that day, but what is your best estimate of, would it be 2 days later? Could it be, if we, with education, or is it a week or is it 10 days? I mean, I think that's what trustee Warren was somewhat saying, correct? Okay.
If I can spell out for each of the options what customer service specifically means, each of those.
Okay, yes?
What I forgot to say is that because, we do differ from Whitefish Bay because of a higher number of multifamily units that we have, properties. And I do think anecdotally, I have met more people in the past few years that have opted to buy duplexes as a first-time owner, and that's a more desirable property. So I think that in the past, it's been looked at as like it detracts